What is going on, guys? It's pre-intro Jack here, and no, sorry, lower your expectations. It's not a double upload day, I'm sorry. But there is something special happening. You might have noticed this is episode 99, which by all accounts means tomorrow's episode is episode number 100. And to mark the occasion, we're going to do a longer live episode with a little Q&A bit in it, kind of dotted throughout, where I answer some of the questions that you guys pose. Now, you may remember I was meant to do a Q&A for 100,000 subscribers, and then I got very, very sick with an infection, and then, well, I never really got around to it, which is a little awkward, I suppose. But tomorrow's episode, I am going to get around to doing. So, with that in mind, if you've got any questions that you would like to ask me, please leave them in the comments of this video. Obviously, scroll down. If there's comments that you like the look of, thumbs them up. I will answer the ones which I think will be the most interesting to answer in tomorrow's episode. Anyway, that is all from me. Enjoy the rest of the video. Drop a like, as always, if you are enjoying the series. And I will see you again, well, in about 15 seconds' time. Run the intro. What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to episode 99 of Park to Prem here with Towel or Town. This is about my 6th time doing this intro. I've had one day off and immediately my whole groove has gone. But yes, today we are back to start season number 12, and well, as I just acknowledged yesterday, you may have noticed a lack of a video. I did tweet out about it. I just felt like having a day off, a day of rest, a day of catch up. I have played 11 seasons of Football Manager in 3 months. That's a lot of FM, and well, I also wanted a break from doing a video for a day, so that's what we've done, coming in refreshed, ready for what is going to be a tough season. Media prediction is 3rd, and well, let's just start by acknowledging it immediately. Shvetsov, he's still here, and folks, he signed a new contract at the club. He has, well, had his wage times 10, so he's probably earning what he should be earning now. It's a 5-year contract, and if we get promoted from this league, which you would certainly hope that we will, we get an optional 3-year extension on top of that, which I think could be absolutely huge in terms of long-term success here. Dylan Turnbull is also still in the starting 11 for the year, so that's some good news. Unlike Shvetsov, who kind of took relegation on the chin and was a happy bunny about it of sorts, Dylan Turnbull has cried and cried and cried, and he's really started to annoy me, but I am sticking with him. Yes, he's been very unhappy about the fact that I've not been willing to let him go. Lots of teams interested. I think the most interesting offer we had was from Toronto in MLS, who offered to loan him for a year. I don't think that would have pleased either of us, but at least for now, he's here at the club, and alongside Shvetsov, I'm hoping they're going to do the business up front for us. Anyway, in terms of transfers, you can have a look at our transfer dealings here, because we have sold £72 million worth of players and spent about 60 million the other way. So looking at the sales first and foremost, and what the is this? Vinko Kosic to Aston Villa. Yeah, they came to me and they said 40 million. I said 50, thinking, I'll push my luck. 40 is still way too much. They went, you know what, we'll do 46.5. So for a player who didn't score last year, didn't get an assist last year, we've got £46.5 million. We have absolutely robbed them blind. He will probably end up being a phenomenal player for them now that I've said all of this. He was homegrown at clubs. That made it a little more difficult to sell him, but ultimately, I can't reject that kind of money, can I? Especially for a player who's just not performed in the previous year. So a big sale, and that did allow us to do some moves in the transfer market. A few other players did leave us, however. Andrew Pittman has gone to Hertha Berlin. You can see here, obviously, he's a good player, the left back, but ultimately we brought him in last year for £6.25 million, and he underwhelmed me a little. When I got a £10 million offer, I was kind of a little bit surprised and, well, more than willing to let him go. A few other names leaving us. Vlad Dragomir left us. He had a really poor year last year. At 30 years old, you know, he started to make some moves in the national team for Romania, which was good. And whilst he did get 7 assists, just on the whole, he wasn't good enough in our team. We've got double the money that we paid for him last year. I guess it's a good little bit of business for a player who's the wrong side of 30. Anyway, a couple more players. Mikhail has left us. He has gone to Derby County. We're just a little overburdened, I think, with players in the wide areas and in the striking department. Lots of youngsters who I want to bed into the first team this year. And Mikhail was just kind of the player that made way. Last year, he didn't really shine for us. Again, doubling our money. We need to do that. It is one of the club's philosophies and kind of club vision factors. to sell players on for a profit. And, there's certainly some examples of that in these dealings. Anyway, the last big name of, I guess, note is Alex Blesser, who's gone back to Spain. Never really did it for us, was a backup last year, failed to make a splash in the first team. £2 million received. We won't complain about that too much. You'll notice on the outs, obviously, Collie Sacco has left us. A few loans out as well. Pavlovic really wanted to play first-team football and was complaining. I decided I would rather give some of our younger centre-backs a go this year. He was very, very solid for us. I can't really, criticise him too much, but all of his wages are covered and we are going to be receiving, you can see here, 150k a month. So we are going to make about just shy of £2 million just loaning him out. Another player who's left us on loan, another defender, Ignatovic. Obviously inconsistent, has a bit of a competitive streak. Cardiff City, Championship club, they want him on loan. Really good opportunity for him to go and play regular first-team football. Maybe he develops into a superstar, but he was only ever going to sit on the bench at a push for us. It's all about giving players, a little bit more in the way of opportunities. Anyway, a few more loans that you might notice here. Players like Inangi going out, Eric Jr. going out, to League One and Championship clubs. Really, continuing to focus on the youth side of things, and in loaning them out, they'll hopefully continue to develop. On the ins, £60 million spent, there or thereabouts, and a lot of that on a singular name. Marlon Ox has joined us from Dortmund. He's a very, very good left-back, 19 years old, captain, absolutely metric ton for the German national team. You can see here at under 21 level he's played a lot. Good little left back, not the best defensively, but he's extremely technically gifted, and with our system that does require a lot of our wing backs, it could be very useful. For this year in the Championship, I think we're going to stick with our 4-4-2, but I am thinking ahead to being in the Premier League where we might need to switch things up, maybe go with a 5 at the back system with wing backs. So we're going to be training this guy to play left wing back. I think he could be very, very good there for us. Another player who has joined us, a familiar name, you might have caught it in the bottom of the corner of the screen. CC returns. Yes, we sold him to Newcastle United for £9.5 million a number of years ago. You will note the fact that I have paid £15.5 million for him. However, half of that has come back to us as part of the sell-on. So the actual fee that we paid was nearer £7.75 million. So less than what we sold him for. And for a player who is a very solid centre-mid, and a centre-mid is a position that we needed, I feel like he can tick a lot of boxes for us. I'm willing to forgive him for being sent off in the League One playoffs semi-final if he can make amends this year. And at 22 years old, still a little bit of room to develop. I like him a lot as a squad depth player. The centre-mid position, we've not had that depth. He's a player for it. Another player we have, a player who I'm just going to refer to as Lazarus, signed, you can see here, from Inter Milan. We paid £12 million for him. That is not a small amount of money. Maybe a little bit of a gamble, but he is 19 years old. He has signed a 5-year deal at the club, despite being a mercenary, which I don't love. You can see he's quite a good centre-mid, but actually this year I could see him playing wing-back for us a fair bit. Not the craziest wing-back by any means, but at 19 years old, he has a lot of room to develop. And one of the mindsets that I've really taken this year going into the Championship is I'm willing to sign players who aren't quite Premier League ready, who will get regular first team this year and hopefully develop into the kind of players that we would be struggling to attract next season. Regardless, good little player, good physicals. He's really, really well-rounded, and the versatility he offers, I think, makes him an obvious candidate to be, our right back, a player for this bench, especially. Not paying him the smallest amount of money in wages, but we have got quite a lot of money to burn this year, so I was willing to make it work for the 19-year-old Greek international. 3 further players. Rolf Polk joins us from Dortmund. A little bit of squad depth in the centre-mid area. Can also play as a striker and out on the right for less than £4 million. I think we've got ourselves a player with a little bit of potential who we will struggle to sell on for a loss. And, 2 further names you can see here. Morrigan has joined us as a goalkeeper. Of course, we agreed to sign him last January, so we've known it's been happening for a while. Compared to Walton, though, better aerial ability, better shot stopping, a little bit younger as well at 24. He is going to be our first choice keeper this year. And, last but most certainly not least, we have Victor Manuel Alvarez, a player who I talked about midway through last year as a player who I would like to sign. We have signed this guy for £500,000. His contract was up at the end of the year. There were some very, very big teams interested in him. And, you can see we've ended up signing him. No crazy clause other than a non-promotion release clause of £28 million, which I really like this guy. I actually think as a box-to-box midfielder, He's going to be very, very solid for us. At 20 years old, loads of room to improve, and also professional personality, which is always nice. Again, kind of following that ethos of a player who will be exceptional quality for the Championship, but also should be able to develop into a top Premier League quality player this year. So the one thing that you might note from these ins and outs is the fact that none of our players who had relegation release clauses have been offered deals, or so you would think, because with the season starting on the 3rd of August, in the last couple of days, I've had 2 release clauses triggered. The first of these was Jan Matcher, triggered by Tottenham. They are paying £33 million for him, so that's a huge amount of money. Going to be a massive miss for us, though, if he does go the deep line playmaker. And the other player who's leaving us, you might be able to guess it, Mr. Dessa. He has had an offer, if we look here, at £36.5 million. That is his relegation release clause hit. He is going to be going out. And as I said, with that in mind, Lazarus is going to come in and hopefully be that solution that we need in the right back position. I'm now trying to remember Lazarus' last name. Here we go. So you can see the two of them here. Mr. Dessa is definitely better. But when we're losing Mr. Dessa for £36 million, I was willing to overspend a little bit on Lazarus, at £12 million, just because I can afford to do that. Money, whilst it probably is worth, spending smartly and not overpaying too much, money isn't something that we're short of right now. With the parachute payments, our overall balance sits at £83 million. If Matcher and Mr. Dessa leave us, that is going to leave us almost £70 million richer. I have also lined up a replacement for Matcher, who I am looking to bring in. And the player in question is Adrian Highland of Sheffield United. He's 20 years old, and he looks like a very, very good Championship quality deep line playmaker. First touch passing technique, great work rate as well. Vision is solid. The only real gap in his game is his off the ball and anticipation, but hopefully they can improve with time. At 20 years old, he's a player who's not had a great deal of match experience, but I think if he was to come into our team, he'd definitely be able to do a job. And whilst he's not exactly the direct replacement in terms of quality for Matcher, I don't feel like he's a world away, and given the fact he's English, that always commands a little bit of a premium. Right now we are looking like we're going to need to offer in the region of £13.75 million for him. One further dealing that I am hoping to get done is this guy, Ryan Achabar. He is a German striker, formerly of Bayern Munich, was available as a free agent, and I think he looks very, very good as a potential player to have on the bench. So anyway, how does our squad look? A lot of players going, a few players coming in. I will say first and foremost, it's a very, very young squad, particularly our starting 11. Now, I know I'm going to ruffle a few feathers here because this is how we line up to start the season. Yes, Molineux is on one side and Shuttleworth is on the other. I know lots of people are going to say, Jack, you really need to strengthen the wide attacking midfielder positions. Given how Shuttleworth did a couple of years ago in the Championship with 12 goals and 16 assists, and given how Molineux's done over the past few years playing out on the left, I'm willing to give them the faith this year. This season I've elected to replace other positions that we need to address. The board expectation this year is to reach the playoffs, so ultimately, I maybe could have overspent a little bit more and, spent the entirety of our remaining £18 million of transfer budget on a really high quality winger. I don't want to do that yet because, as I said, if we go into the Premier League, I'm looking at ways that we could play with wing-backs and free centre-backs, and suddenly wide attacking midfielders are going to be a little bit redundant. So at least for now, we're going to show some faith. I hope you can show the faith in me to make it work. To start the year, this is how we are going to set up. And the reason you might notice that Matcher and Mr. Dessa aren't in the team is because they're probably going to be gone by the second game of the year. The transfer window closes, I think, midway through next week. Yeah, it closes in 5 days' time. Obviously, we've got Alvarez and Ceci making their debuts at centre mid. Behind them, though, we have got some good centre mids. Matasevic, ready for first team football this year. He will appear on the bench, I'm sure, and make appearances. Rodriguez as well, I think, can be a really good centre mid option for us. Only 20 years old, loads of room to develop. And just on the whole, I'm pretty happy with the overall squad depth. You kind of look at the team now. We've got some really good goalkeeping options in Walton and Morrigan. In centre-back, we are going to be going with Douglas and Maggi this year. I know Douglas doesn't have the best jumping reach or heading, but I feel like technically and for the level that we're playing at, he's very good. Of course, he can also play right-back. So if Lazarus doesn't hit the ground running there, Douglas is an option to slot into the wider areas, perhaps in the defence. Obviously, alongside him, we've got Maggi, who joined us through January. Was one of the standout players, I think, last year. Really made a difference to us. You can see media description is Wonder Kid. I have high hopes of his potential. And yeah, hopefully he's going to just be, the lieutenant, I guess, in the defence. When you look at our back four, the average age is under 20. Maggi is 20 years old, and then Douglas, Lazarus and Ox are all 19. That is a young defence. I'm hoping that isn't going to be a sticking point this year. Obviously, we've got the experience of players like Brandon Williams and Hugo on the bench, just in case. So yes, CC and Alvarez are going to start together in the centre mid positions. I'm a little bit concerned that they lack somewhat defensively. However, I feel like just on the whole, as a pairing, they have tremendous technical ability, quite complementary to each other as well. And I think they're going to do very well at this level. That's kind of the general trend here, is we have a young team, but a team that really should be stepping it up this year and hopefully blowing this team out the water. Of course, Shvetsov and Turnbull are up front. In terms of players on the bench, obviously we talked about Rodriguez and Maticevic as centre mid options. We've got Stefanovic still, a little bit more experience in the team. Was good last year from his set pieces. I know a lot of people commented on his goals and assists last year. I do think it's worth noting the fact that a lot of those assists were corners. It's something that we are quite good at. His delivery on off the bench could be vital for us. In terms of other players on the bench, we've got Eric, who you can see here. Of course, he was on loan at Blackburn last year, but you might notice a new name, Ryan Bowley. And the reason that I'm bringing in Bowley here, or Bowley, is because he's really impressed me. He's 20 years old. We signed him from Cardiff Met Uni a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, he got 27 goals in 37 for South Shields in the National League. Last year, he went to Crawley in League One and got 15 goals for them, with 6 player of the match performances. And he's shown really good development. And at 20 years old, he looks like he could be a good striking option. Now, I don't know if he'll be on the bench all the time this year, but I do like him quite a lot. I'm a little concerned, he's approaching close to his potential. But at 20 years old, with perfectionist personality, he's got goals in him. He's shown it at every other team he's played for so far. If we need him to come big for us, I think he can do that. Anyway, just looking at the reserve side of things, you can see players like Grant and Race still in the team, although Grant is on his way out. Subran is going to be a good centre-back backup for us this year, but can also play right-back. A few other names you might notice, Ronnie Williams, and obviously Polk as well, the new addition. It's worth noting, I guess, that with Matcha and Mr. Dessa potentially leaving, the squad might be a little thin on the ground. In terms of the under-23s, we've got a few players we could promote, but you can see here, we've got so many players out on loan this year. Really want to be giving as many players regular first-team football as we can, and hopefully seeing them, develop a lot. That's always been the mantra here. We have to bring players in for cheap. The ones who develop, they'll play in the first team. The ones who don't quite make the grade, we'll look to sell them for a big profit. That's how a club like ours has to be run. And of course, when you look at things right now, financially things are pretty good. So anyway, it is the Championship. It's not really the league that we wanted to be in. Our media prediction is 3rd. You can see here, though, looking at the Media Dream 11, we have a lot of players in here. Unfortunately, both Mr. Dessa and Matcha not going to be with us for much longer, but Turnbull and Shvetsov, I do anticipate to be smashing records this year. So with all of that in mind, our first game of the year is at home against Walsall, a team who we've played on three previous occasions. We've won 2 of them, they've won 1. This is the team we're going to go with. Let me know what you make of our dealings in the summer. I feel like Alvarez and CC, 2 very good centre mid options. I feel Lazarus is the one who's a little bit of a risk at £12 million on large wages. It's a gamble. I couldn't really find a better right mid option, and my thinking was Douglas can come in at right mid if Lazarus doesn't work out, and he's still an exceptional little centre mid prospect at 19 years old. And he has that versatility in him. He's the Greek James Milner, is what they call him. He can play anywhere, centre mid, full back. He's got it all in his locker, and well, hopefully our team is going to have it in them today. Obviously, we have the league table still present from last season. Let's remove that widget when we get a chance. We're not going to think about that last end of season episode. Still, waking up in a cold sweat with nightmares about it. This is a new division. We need to show what we're made of. We're going to go with the towel or attacking system. As I said, as we look hopefully towards promotion, I am evaluating ways in which we can adapt. But I am kind of concerned if we change the system too much, we lose the goals that we possess. And well, maybe we don't need the goals, because Lazarus, the right back, gives it to Samuele Maggi, and he's putting on a magic show. He's put it on. They're loving it. Heads it in the Italian centre-back. And well, 2 players who started their careers in Italy. Lazarus, of course, formerly of Inter Milan. Maggi, formerly playing in Serie B. Together, they're like a magic duo. Maybe that's what we'll turn them into. Although it doesn't really work, because Maggi's left centre-back and Lazarus is right-back. So there's a little bit of a gap between them. Maybe Douglas can be like the stagehand or something of their magic act. Anyway, I don't know really what we're talking about here, but it's 1-0 at the break. And it's not been the most, I guess, free-flowing of games so far. But Lazarus has had a good debut. Magi's done well. And we've had 11 shots to their 0. So I guess for the lack of actual goals, we are at least looking very, very dominant here. By the way, good news, stadium expansion has happened. You can see it going on. And at least right now, the gazebo is still present. And whilst I point at the gazebo, Turnbull's earned a penalty, which Fetsov is desperate to take. Can we get a second here? Can we start the season as we intend to begin? The scaffolding behind, let's hope it doesn't put off Shvetsov. Of course it doesn't. He celebrates away. He cartwheels and almost kung fu kicks. I think that's Lazarus at right back in the head. But it's 2-0 here. That's a really weird background, isn't it, to be shooting into? Of course, our stadium is being expanded this year, but that work has not quite finished yet. Our right back plays it forward. Douglas winning it in the air. For all the haters saying that he can't head the ball, look at him now. Cece spreads it wide to Shuttleworth. Switches the play. Shvetsov to Molyneux. Of course, now playing that kind of new position he's found himself in out wide. Alvarez, Molyneux, cuts inside. Can he finish it? Of course he blooming can. Of course, Walsall not the biggest team in the Championship, so let's not get too carried away here. But this is the dream performance, isn't it, really, to start the season? Many a team get relegated from the Premier League and then just get stuck in the Championship. Can't find their way out. The parachute money starts to dry up. The finances look balked and they're in trouble. We're not looking to become another team on that growing list of Championship, I guess, hostages. The teams who just can't get out of this division. And at least given our performance so far here, it doesn't look like we've got to worry about that too much. Going to take off Shuttleworth for Stevanovic. And you know what, Molyneux, I know you scored, mate. You're probably not going to be happy about this. I'm going to bring in Eric out in the wide areas and see what he can achieve for us. One more sub if we want to use it. I think we do want to use it as well. I'm going to bring in Matasevic and I'm going to bring him in for Cece at deep line playmaker. I just noticed that Shuttleworth set to inside forward. Did I misclick that at some point? Maybe I did. That's a little awkward if that is the case. But, I mean, who cares? We're winning 3-0. Maybe I should keep it like that. Happy little accident. We all need I mean, let's be honest. You're not a Football Manager player unless you've accidentally subbed in the wrong player or played a player in the wrong position or switched a role by mistake. You're just not. You can tell me otherwise, but I won't believe you. Anyway, Douglas switches the play over to Maggi. What's he going to do? Options on the left. Eric's there. Was on loan at Blackburn this year. What can he do? Backheels it to Ox. The German, formerly a Dortmund, puts it in the mixer. Turnbull under it, but it is hacked away clear. I mean, let's not lose our clean sheet here. I would love to celebrate a clean sheet. We didn't have enough of those in our previous year in the Championship, and while they're bringing it forward here, it's blocked away superbly, and we should get this because Jesse Lingard, aged 37, isn't particularly quick. How is Jesse Lingard looking? They've subbed him on, oh my word. Yeah, he really isn't very quick at 37. That's a 6 acceleration, 5 pace. I hope they're playing him as an Enganche. Anyway, should all be done here. There might be one last chance with 30 seconds left. Dominant display, though, in this first game of the year. I'm hoping this is going to be a dominant season. Shvetsov, Turnbull, little give and go. Shvetsov through, gets his second of the season. I mean, I think we can expect to see a few more goals from Shvetsov before the year is up. It's going to be 4-0 here. Dominant display to mark our return to the Championship. Good to see players like Alvarez having a really solid performance. I feel like this year is an opportunity for us to play youngsters who wouldn't have got a chance last year had we been in the Premier League. And, you know, develop just as a squad with the mindset of, you know, once we reach the Premier League again, we are going to be a much better team. Just because we're going to be older, we're going to be more mature. Got a lot of players, you know, who are 19 to 21. Game time is going to help them a lot. You can see Lazarus, good debut for him. A load of our players out on loan playing regular football, which is great. Inangi, I did almost keep at the club this year, but in the end, I decided a second loan to MK Dons, who were relegated last year, could really benefit him. He's going to be playing the league slightly below us, but I feel like longer term development, you know, that regular first team football is going to help him out a ton. And he can definitely have a more successful season playing for a League One favourite for promotion that he's familiar with, rather than playing for a Championship relegation fodder team. Similar idea with Gok as well, the young Turk. He's on loan at MK Dons again, and as you can see, he got an assist on his debut for the season. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up everything from me today. A lot of people have been asking, Jack, what are you going to do for episode 100? And it's a little bit awkward, really, because there isn't a great deal happening for episode 100 in terms of in-game. September doesn't have a great deal of matches either. What I may be tempted to do is come back for some kind of triple header or some kind of live com special. I may even do a little Q&A. I feel bad because I promised, you might remember this, months ago, an 100,000 subscriber Q&A. And then I was very, very unwell. Like I had a upper respiratory tract infection or lower respiratory tract infection. It wasn't a good time. And I never got around to doing that video. So with that in mind, I think next episode we'll do kind of a longer live com, but I'll do a Q&A as well. So I will probably have added a little clip before this video started because I know not everyone gets to the end mentioning it. But do feel free to go down in the comments, leave your questions. And if you see some questions you would like to see answered, give them a thumbs up. We'll do that long overdue 100,000k subscriber Q&A at 106,000 subscribers because that's the way these things sometimes work out. But anyway, thank you for watching, guys. Let me know what you make of our transfer dealings this year. You know, lots of, I don't want to say punts for the future, but certainly investments for the future. I'm pretty happy with our overall squad situation. You know, a few new players added in there. Got to brace ourselves for the worst with a few big players leaving us and Mr. Dessa and Matcha. But if that last game was anything to go by, we may not end up missing them too much. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow, episode 100 Q&A. Get your questions down below. It's me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.